Morning and welcome to On the Mark. I am 1010 Win Sports Director Marc Ernay, and to my left is Gunnery Sergeant Ralph DeQuebec, who is here to talk to us today about the Inspire Games. Ralph, thanks so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, we have to tell your story first. You were in the Marine Corps, injured in combat, 2012. Take us through that. How did that all happen?
So the first 7 years of my career, after the first 4, I transferred into the bomb disposal unit. And so the day of I got hurt, I was working on a bomb. Another person in my patrol had actually activated the bomb, blew myself up. And the guys that I was with on the X, they got me off and in the hospital and got me to safety as fast as possible.
How long did it take until you were, out of the hospital and really on the road to recovery?
So when I was immediately after getting blown up, I was super thirsty. And so I was asking for water. And so these guys gave me their water, and I pounded about a liter of water,
wow,
which made me develop pneumonia. And so I didn't get to come home as fast as I liked because I couldn't travel back from Germany. And so I stayed there for about a month. It was about, say, 6 weeks after I got injured when I finally opened my eyes and realized I didn't have any legs.
Now, you lost both legs below the knee.
Above the knee.
Above the knee, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when you realize that you're not going to walk again normally?
At that time, I didn't know what to expect. I looked down and I don't have legs, and the first things in my mind are like, I wanted to still be a Marine, and then how was I going to be a Marine? How can I do this? And then secondly was, my girlfriend at the time, was my wife now, I was like, who's going to want to marry me? Who's going to want to live this life with me? And so luckily, my wife married me. She proposed to me. I started playing hockey, and everyth's been, on the up and up.
You were not a hockey fan until you got into the sled hockey.
No, I knew who Wayne Gretzky was coming from LA, but I didn't watch a lot of the games. It's just such a fast-paced game, and there's so many things going on that if you don't understand it, you're going to be lost. So as soon as I started playing and started understanding techniques and tactics and stuff like that, it's actually a very interesting game.
Now, the Inspire Games, a charity endeavor from the 4 Block Foundation. Tell us a little bit about what's happening today at Chelsea Piers, coming up in just a couple hours now.
Yep. So 4 Block has partnered with Marsh & McLennan and some other insurance agencies like Chubb and Star.
Okay.
And so these major insurance agencies, they put together teams to play in the Inspire Games. And so the players pay to play, and that's where we raise the funds. And so these guys, all levels of hockey, you got former NHL players, former junior players, and you got guys that, weekend warriors is what we call them. And so it's a lot of fun. It's actually a pretty exciting game of hockey to watch.
Now, I want to go back to your involvement with the sport, because you were not a big fan. You knew who Gretzky was, as you said.
Right.
But it really was the turning point in your recovery that you started to play hockey.
Right.
Now, there are a lot of people who go through a trauma similar to yours who basically shrivel up, don't want to leave the house, fall into a deep depression. How did you avoid that? Or if you were in it, how did you pull out of it?
So exactly, that's what happened to me. And in the first year after injury, just the loss of identity, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I tried all the other sports, wheelchair rugby, wheelchair basketball, wheelchair lacrosse is new, did some skiing, and then, I loved all of them. I loved playing, just being active, but nothing actually captured me the way I needed to be. And so when I started playing sled hockey, the physical contact, the camaraderie, the jaw jacking, when you get into a hockey locker room, you guys, there's mess being talked all the time. So I felt like I was in a team locker room again, like ready to go out on deployment. Guys are talking mess all the time, and so I just felt at home.
Now, you sort of take your military background with you as the co-captain of the developmental sled hockey team.
Right.
Back in a leadership role, that must feel good.
It feels real good, actually. Just to be in a leadership position and then to help develop the younger kids on the team is almost like being the gunny and developing a young sergeant to become his own leader. And so it's almost as fulfilling.
Take me back to your time at Walter Reed. We've heard so much about the work that they do with wounded soldiers. How important was that facility in your recovery?
It's phenomenal. In hockey, we'd call it bar down. It's it's just amazing, from prosthetics to physical therapy, occupational therapy, to the medical staff. Up and down, I had no problems at Walter Reed. And all the support that is around there from the nonprofit organizations that want to help is just nonstop. So if you need the help, there's definitely someone there that's willing to help. And I had the opportunity to move back to San Diego, being from LA, and I just chose to stay at Walter Reed because I knew that it was a world-class facility and that I'd get the best care there.
All right, let's go on the road now to the Olympics as you try to make the Paralympic sled hockey team.
Right.
What will it take to get you ready for the Paralympics in a couple of years?
So we got a couple months, actually. Tryouts are in a couple months.
Okay.
We got to hit grind mode nonstop for the next 2 months and hopefully make that slot. Just being able to compete at the highest level and represent your country, you can't ask for anything better than that.
Who are the guys you watch now in the NHL to try and maybe pattern yourself after? I know it's hard.
I like Drew Doughty. I like all the offensive defensemen.
Okay.
Drew Doughty, PK Subban, those guys, the flashy guys. But then I also like the guys that can hit, like Cronwall. When Cronwall lays a hit, you know that he laid a hit. So I pick and choose what I like.
You have to mention Shattenkirk. He's a local guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's still playing with the Capitals,
Yep.
a big factor. So you're the co-captain. You're in training. Pyeongchang, have you been?
I have not.
In Korea?
No.
That would be,
First.
I guess, the ultimate goal, too,
Yep.
to make it. What needs to happen? How do you make the team? Is there a tryout?
There's a tryout. It's in 2 months. It's just a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. People don't realize as much training goes into this sport. Like, you think it's a disabled sport, but I'm living, breathing, and eating hockey at this moment. And so it's definitely gonna take the next 2 months of just nonstop focus and trying to accomplish.
How confident are you that you can participate and be on that team?
Confidence is everything in hockey, so I'm already picturing myself on the team. And if I wasn't, then I'd never make the team.
Okay. Talk to me, if you would, about the work of the 4-Block Foundation and their assistance in getting this
Right.
Inspire Games off the ground.
I met my mentor, Chris, through 4-Block. He approached me about my transition out of the military, and at that moment, I didn't know. I was kind of teetering on wanting to stay in and wanting to get out. I didn't know exactly I didn't know the numbers. And so he sat me down and kind of connected the dots, and then we just kind of figured it out. And so at that moment, I realized that I needed to start the next chapter in my life. I wasn't getting any younger, and if I really wanted to do this, I needed to do it right now. And so Chris and the 4-Block Foundation partnered up with Marc, and we were able to start this fundraiser 3 years ago. And for the last 3 years, we've had successful Inspire Games. And so it's funded me so that I can train for ice, equipment, travel, lodging, you name it. Hockey's not a cheap sport. It's $12 an ice slot. I'm on the ice 5 times a week. You do the math. It gets pretty expensive really fast.
For the uninitiated, how different is sled hockey from what we might see in the NHL playoffs?
It's a little bit slower, but the contact is the same. The puck movement's the same. The rules are the same. Everything's pretty much the same. So if you like hockey and you see sled hockey for the first time, chances are, if it's a higher level of sled hockey, you're going to love it.
All right, let's make a pitch to get people out to Chelsea Piers this afternoon.
Yeah.
As things get underway at 12:30 and the games go, how can folks get tickets? How can they make donations if they can't make it to the games?
If they want to donate, they can check out the website. It's 4block.org/Inspire Games. And there's a link on there to donate or become a sponsor. And if they just want to come out, they can come out. It starts at 12:30 to 4.
And it's 4 spelled out, F-O-U-R,
Yep.
instead of the numeral.
Right.
Thanks so much for your time.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
for your service,
Thank you.
because
Thank
we
you.
are indebted to you forever. And that is Ralph DeQuebec, Gunnery Sergeant and hopeful Paralympic sled hockey player. And getting ready for the Inspire Games coming up today at Chelsea Piers. I'm Marc Ernay, and you're on the mark.